Hello. Happy Wednesday. Today's Wednesday. Who knew? This week has been flying by. All right, we are going live again with Kayla from Fitfilled. So I'm going to get her in this video. Today we're going to be talking about nutrition again. We are going to be talking about cravings. There she is. Hi, Kayla.
Hello again.
How are you?
Good. How are you today? You look cute.
Good. Oh, thanks. I'm in like normal clothes. Not
I love the jacket.
thanks. So today, we're going to talk a little bit about managing cravings. So, like, why you have cravings, how to deal with them. But make sure that if you haven't watched our first video from Monday, where we talked about protein, you watch that because that's got a lot of really good info about protein, and it's very relevant to our conversation today as well. So, let's just jump right in, Keela.
All right, sounds good. Yes, so definitely check out our last video if you haven't yet. It's all about protein, which ties into, again, what Nora said, what we're about to talk about today. So obviously, in addition to everything we talked about Monday, protein is also very important for managing appetite. So it is the most satiating of the macronutrients. So the more of it you eat, the less hungry you'll be throughout the day. And the less hungry you are, the less likely you'll be to feel the need to snack and potentially make those choices that'll make it difficult for you to look and feel your best. Um, but obviously, there is a lot more to managing cravings than just protein. Um, and a lot of it comes down to the difference between pleasure and satisfaction, which I think is something very important to talk about because I think a lot of people are really stuck on, um, you know, getting that pleasure from food, which can lead to a pretty slippery slope. Um, so I'll kind of go over like the difference here. So pleasure from food is immediate and sensory. So it's that instant gratification from something sweet, salty, or comforting. And it's usually highly processed or sugary foods. And so pleasure is obviously short-lived. So it fades as soon as the food is gone, and it often leads people wanting more and more. So satisfaction, on the other hand, is obviously longer lasting. And it's not just about taste, but about feeling nourished and content after a meal. So satisfaction comes from eating in a balanced way that respects your body's needs and your taste preferences, actually leaving you feeling energized and sustained.
Mhm.
But the problem the problem today that a lot of people face is that many of these processed foods are thought of by most people as reasonably good choices. So it's not their fault. I think, as you know, Nora, like marketing has kind of taken over the world. So it's really easy to go into the grocery store, see something labeled as low carb, heart healthy, organic, anything like that, and just see that and be like, oh, okay, so this must be good for me. This must be healthy. I'm going to buy it.
Mhm.
When in reality, it's usually not. And on top of that, there's just a lot of misinformation out there. So it's easy to get sucked into this and be, kind of reliant on these processed foods and not really know that it's not as good for you as you might think. So it's a tough situation to be in. You think you're making reasonable choices and your taste buds are rewarding you momentarily for these choices, reinforcing you to think that they are indeed good choices.
Yeah.
So it's just kind of this cycle. And it sucks because a lot of people when they come to me they do say like I don't know what's right, I don't know what's wrong, I don't know, like, and I totally get why. And it
Yeah.
sucks.
think it's like the greenwashing of stuff. It's like that same concept of like we look at things and like for me, I know like if I go into Trader Joe's and I'm like walking down the aisle, I'm like, oh wow, like these crisps are like gluten free, and then I'm like, but look at all the other crap in them, So it's like you get like sucked in because you're like, oh well, it won't like hurt my stomach, so like it must be like a good snack choice.
Right. And I think another thing to think about too, though, is like the more you are focused on fueling your body properly and having these adequate meals throughout the day, the less likely you're going to feel the need to snack.
Yeah.
So, like a lot of our clients do say that they're like, what are some healthy options for snacks? Can you give me some snack ideas? Which I do. Don't get me wrong, but like I said, you shouldn't really feel the need to snack if you are having these adequate meals that are keeping you full and satisfied until your next meal.
Yeah, we definitely hear a lot of people say, like definitely the snacking throughout the day, but then also we hear a lot of people talk about like nighttime snacking. So like after dinner, they've had their dinner and then they're just like sitting around, maybe they're watching TV, they've got a few hours before bed, and they're like, that's when I like really want something sweet. Or, I get out the bag of chips and I had a whole sleeve of Pringles, that kind of thing. And it's like that to me, my first reaction is like, okay, well, that's probably because you didn't give yourself enough throughout the day. So your body's like looking for more, right? The body is smart. It's looking for what it wants or what it needs. And then we have to figure out, okay, well, like, why am I feeling this way at nighttime?
Exactly. You're exactly right. It typically does come down to that person not eating enough in general earlier on in the day, and also kind of going back to protein. If you're not getting enough protein during the day,
Mhm.
um, it is going to catch up with you later on. And typically, late night is when you usually are going to get more of those cravings because you haven't satisfied what your body needs earlier on in that day. And like there's a lot to be said for being able to appreciate the more subtle flavors of whole foods. And like when you cut down on these pleasure inducing foods, your taste actually does change.
Mhm.
Like your taste buds literally change. And this makes it a lot easier to feel satisfied from food that's also better for your health.
Yeah.
But you have to be willing to give it time. I think people just, everyone wants the quick fix. Everyone wants results right away. And no one really has that patience anymore to like, allow your body to go through these changes and like, again, appreciate these subtle differences. So, um, like, as you kind of allow your body to go through this transition point, it's a lot easier to feel satisfied without having that perpetual desire for more and more that pleasure inducing foods tend to cause.
Right. Right. I think like, going throughout the day too, if you're someone who's snacking all day and you're just like, oh, well, I just like nibble all day long. Or like, oh, I sit at my desk at work and I have like a granola bar and then I have chips or whatever. And it's like, okay, well, like think about when you're taking that in, what's that doing to your blood sugar? So it's like your body's going, okay, I need something. So you're giving it something it's gonna break down quick, something really super carby. And then all of a sudden like you're hungry again like an hour later and you're like, God, I'm just like so hungry all day long, I just feel like I'm just snacking. It's like, yep.
Right. And that's a whole nother thing is like blood sugar. And again, that is like, that's something that could be a whole other video, but that's definitely something else that is going to lead to increased hunger and cravings, having these blood sugar spikes throughout the day. Starting your day off with a high carb, high sugar breakfast, that's going to lead to increased hunger and cravings too. So there's a lot more to it. But again, that's something that if anyone does have questions on, they can always reach out to me, and I'm more than happy to chat a little bit more about that too. But really, this whole like transition is pretty much the backbone of our program. And like, there's no doubt that the clients who do embrace it the most typically also end up with the best results. But the key here really is sustainability. So we're teaching you a new way of life. So not a quick fix, not something that you're going to bust your butt doing for just a few months and then give up because you can't do it anymore. This isn't an overnight thing. This is the rest of your life that we're talking about. So I like to tell people that like this isn't a diet, this is a lifestyle. It's going to take time and it's going to take small changes over time in order for these things to stick.
Yeah.
Um, but, another big part of the sustainability is balance. So every client has a different set point for what they are and aren't willing to do or sacrifice.
Right.
So of course, this means differing potential for the extent of results. So I'm sure you see that in the gym too. There's certain people who are willing to put in a little bit more than others, and that they are going to have slower results, and they don't necessarily want to accept that. But it's it's tough. But yeah, so we kind of get all ends of the spectrum there, and I know that you see it too. But um, mediocre improvement that lasts a long time is a lot better than great improvement that doesn't last. Um, so further into this transition, the further you get into this transition, the more it's going to become second nature.
Right.
And once you experience the benefits and how you feel, the more likely you're going to be willing to try doing a little bit more to get further benefit.
Yeah, definitely. I think, these habit changes are really what leads to like the long-term, lifestyle improvements. Because you're right, like I'm sure probably everyone who's watching this has tried a crash diet at some point or another. And it's like, how do you feel when you do that? When you go from eating, say, 2,000 calories a day to then eating like 1,000, how do you
Right.
feel? Like, they'll feel depleted and they feel, exhausted. They feel starving all the time. They're miserable because they're so hungry. So then the question is like, if you lose weight doing that, has that accomplished your goal? I mean, maybe, but like, has that taught you anything? Definitely not. It's just taught you that eating healthy makes you miserable. So those slower changes over time are just like, they're just so much more sustainable. And it's like you said, it's an investment in your future. Because it's your whole life. It's not just, getting ready for some specific event. It's like, this is your whole life. If you want to be able to sustain that, you gotta do it over time.
Right. And I think a big thing too that people tend to kind of use it as an excuse is, they don't have the time right now, or right now is a busy time. But like, honestly, like that is the best time to do something like this and join a program or have a coach to guide you through these crazy times, because life is always going to be crazy. Like you're never going to avoid the craziness and the busy schedules and vacations and holidays. Like all of this is going to happen year after year.
Mhm.
um so it's kind of like I feel like people always are using that excuse, but in reality it's like this is the time that you should be focusing on something like this and working with someone that is able to help you get through, so that the next time this happens you know exactly what to do.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. That's so true. So Kayla, you'll be in the gym next week, and you'll be doing consultations with people, just meeting with people. We'll give our members the option to pick a time to meet with you that works for them. You'll be in on Tuesday evening and Saturday morning. Is that right?
Yep. Yep. So I'll be in both those days. And like you said, yeah, people can sign up, or, if I'm there and they decide they want to come chat, they could just pop right in.
Yeah.
And again, I'm there for all questions, concerns. I'll talk to anyone, that wants to talk about their specific goals, how the program may or may not work for them. And I'll be honest, like, I'm gonna, give people exactly the rundown of the program. And if it's something that I think will, work for them, I'll definitely tell them. Or if I need to guide them in a different direction, I will.
Perfect. Awesome. Well, I'm excited for that. And then people can find out more about your program. I know there's a couple of spaces left at this point, but everything is very specific to each individual. So we want to make sure that, you don't take too many people on, so you can really pay attention to those people.
Yeah. Yeah, that's something that's very important to us too, is that because we are, a personalized program, we want to make sure we save enough time to have that individual attention to every single client. So We obviously don't want to take a million people at one time, but we like to kind of limit it to like about a handful each time we get an influx of new clients so that we can really focus on each one of them.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. And then so Friday we'll be chatting slightly earlier, so like mid-morning. We'll be chatting about meal preparation, like the thing. I feel like prepare your food and you're gonna just go so much further.
Yep.
So yeah, that
Awesome. Well, I'm looking forward to Friday.
awesome, Kayla. Thank you so much.
Of course. Thanks, Nora. I'll talk to you soon.
Okay, bye.
Bye.